Hello devs, welcome to Orinda Tutorials. I'm back again on React. So with me here today I'm going to show you the basics of React props and state management. I believe it's one of the hardest topic to handle when you are doing JavaScript or if you are new to React.js. So let's demystify. I'm not going to create a React project for now, but I'll just showcase how functional components interact with each other and how props are passed from one function to the next. So with me I just have a basic node project with package.json, and I have the code runner which I'll be using to run this project. So let's just create a file known as index. So I'll start with JavaScript, then we'll migrate it to TypeScript. So let's just create a file known as index.js. Number one thing, which if you are working with React, it means you need to master things to deal with ES6, and most of those functionality, arrow functions, we have destructuring and spread. So I'll just be talking about passing props and state management, which into detail you can look up things to deal with closures. Okay, so let me just start off with a simple function that requires okay, so let's start off here. I'll just start with a normal function, add two numbers. Okay, this will take props A and B, okay, and just return A plus B, as simple as such. So this is equivalent to a React functional component. It's just that we are not using JSX. So if we can just come here and say console add two numbers. So you can see we are calling this add two numbers, but we are expecting A comma B, which are of type any, though we can use JS docs to type annotate them. So at param that one, and so if now then we hover, we should get number and number. Okay, so this is literally how a React component, functional component, should be. A literal React component should be. What you'll find, I'm going to talk about it later. So if we just run this, you'll see we have 5. Okay, so what's the power of React? The power of React is building reusable components. So for now I'm using this. If I duplicate and add here 10, that means I'm reusing the same function to perform multiple stuff. Okay, so you can see I have used the same function to generate 2 different additions. Okay, so that's how a React component, functional component, is. So checking on this, if let's say function React simple component, so then we can say props, then we just return hello world. Okay, so this is a simple React component, and let's say plus props okay, so let's just say props. What this means is that these props will take any number of arguments that you'll pass to it. Okay, so in a literal way we can say, let's just start with that. Then after this we can just console.log react simple component plus that. So let's add some space before, so that we get a decent output. So you can see we have hello world and hello world. So this is a simple string concatenation, but now if you're working with things to deal with objects, it will be something different. If in the world of React you want to understand these, props is usually passed as an object. So with that object you can be able to destructure that object and derive values which are passed into that object. So what do I mean by that? Let's say we have a function to process user info. Okay, so we'll just pass props, or we just say user info. So this will be a representation of props, so we can just replace it with props. So then we can just return that user info. If let's just comment out these ones, this section, then we can just log this, but instead of passing a string, we can pass age and that. So if we run it, yeah, it should be props here. So if we run this, you'll see we have name John, age 20. So that means we are getting props. Okay, one way, if you're dealing with the function parameters, there's usually a way you can, let's say, arg1 argument 1 comma arg2, then we can have this one. Okay, so let's say we return arg1 comma arg2, then we just return props. Okay, so this will change a bit. Let me just make these run in terminal. Yep, clear previous output. Yep, clear that. So once you have that set, then now we can run it, and you'll see we'll be getting arg1 to be of name John, age that, arg2 is undefined, props is empty. What does this mean? will be picking argument, first argument, second argument, but props will be picking an array of other arguments that you may pass along. So let's say if we add maybe mic, then we pass gen, that one. So if we run this, you will see arg1 will be the object that we passed, arg2 will be mic, then props will be this one. Okay, so props will be picking the rest, okay, the rest of everything. But this does not mean that this is what props does all the time. Props just means properties that are supposed to be passed. So if you're working in the React ecosystem, this is known as spread. Okay, so we are spreading this one. So spread, this spread is a collector, it's an argument collector. So it will collect any argument that will be passed after this, the first one and the second one, then everything else will be passed into this. You can pass anything here. It can be an object, maybe that. You add another one, then if you, so we can just pass that one. So let's say this one will be 40, this one will be 50. So if you run this, you should be able to see these props will be taking an array of all these other things that we've passed. So that's how props work. Okay, so you may be asking yourself, why am I saying this? Why am I going back to the JavaScript basics? Because this is the building foundation of understanding how React works. So if we started off with this, we passed a simple string, then now we've gone to the multiple argument, then this is just returning the object. Okay, so let's now go to something a bit high end. Okay, so in a typical React application, you'll have so many components, and I'll just explain how all this is working. So you'll find that you have something that requires a value to be taken and to be processed, and the React architecture allows us to manipulate and process given information into single reusable components. So that has been the power of React. So let's say we have our function app. Okay, so this will be our app. So then we can have a const profile, so profile will be picking some props, app will just be a function and picking no props. Then we can have our function which will be, let's say, sidebar, picking some props. So then we'll just say const sidebar will be sidebar. I'll just pass some properties to that sidebar. Then const content will be that. Then now we can just return sidebar and content. Okay, so I don't care how this sidebar will process stuff, but what I'm concerned with in these props I will just take a return, but this will be in the form of that. So then we can just, maybe we say props.name. Okay, so far we don't know what is contained in this, but we are assuming we have a name there, so this will just return a simple string. Then props.is open. Okay, if we come back to our sidebar, we'll just say is open true. Then in the profile we just say that one. So if we, in this means that for the profile we'll get the name, for the sidebar we'll just get this value of is open. Okay, so far it's this any, but we'll see how to go about it. So for us to run our application, we'll just console.log, then we call the app, save and run. So you can see so if I run it again, you can see we have sidebar returns div true and content. Okay, so let's say sidebar is open. Okay, so we can say, we can just have a ternary operator here saying if it's open then we say open, otherwise we'll just have closed, not open. So if we run, we'll get sidebar is open because we've passed in here is open to true. Then now this is how React will be processing it. Then we can see in our profile we can have a div with John. Okay, so that's how these props work. So a typical way of having this to be supplied using the destructuring way, let's just have this commented out first. Copy, then comment them out, paste. So if I really wanted the name from my props, I would use the destructuring way. I'll now pass an object instead of something that is unknown, say name. Okay, so then I'll assume this. So this one will be assuming we have something like an object on the side here, so we'll just pick name from that and display. Okay, then on the sidebar also we'll have something of this kind, is open. So now if we come to these, if we come here, then you'll see now this will be expecting some value. Okay, if I just do this, you'll see it will give me this is open, then I can just apply that. Okay, or you can just have that. So if we come to profile, before you pass anything in our profile, you'll see we expect a name which will be a number, but it's not a number the way it's seen here. Okay, should not be a number. So at param so you can just say here name to be string, then now our profile will pick string. So if you're not into TypeScript, you can use this JS doc for indicating what is expected. So now if we come here, you'll see we expect name string and should return a string. Okay, so by this you'll see we have now found a way of showcasing. So what if now we wanted to combine this data? So then we can just say here okay, so we can have sidebar, okay, and content. So React has its way of interpreting these but is open here. We'll just remove these props. So then we run it again. Const profile name is undefined. Okay. Okay, it's saying name is undefined because we've not supplied it here. Let's say name Mike. So if I now run it, it should work. Then you'll see we have sidebar is open and we have a div with Mike. So with the understanding of this, it will now start making things easier for you, and everything else will be developing. So number one, we started with just this. So let me just uncomment this. Let's say this is profile 1, app 1, sidebar 1, 1, 1, okay, then app 1. Then now we have this. So with this one, we'll be picking props as if we don't know anything, but we are expecting something, of which this is not the best way of running it, because you'll run into undefined or null values most of the time. So what you need to do is to perform checks if your value is there or is not there, as compared to this one where we do the destructuring. You can see in the profile we destructure user, the name, and we pass that name here, and the sidebar we also have the is open property. So with these the client will always, the other side which is supposed to pick items of these, will always be aware of the props that are supposed to be provided. As you can see here, you can see we have is open there, and we also have the name in the profile. So I hope this helps with understanding of how these functions work, or the components. Now if moving ahead, so let's see on how hooks. So this will not be something detailed about hooks, but hooks are just like let's say a factory method that you use to you pass something to it, then it manipulates that. So let's say we have a function that takes in let's say maybe props, simple hook. So this function will pick these props. So you'll pass your props, or let's say props and CB. Then we'll return a function. So we can return a function with so let's say prop, then CB. So we have a prop and we have a callback. So in our callback we can say we provide return CB prop. So in our simple hook can return just an array of prop and CB. So if we now const this, so so if we log our prop, let's comment this up once. So this is not a typical way of how those hooks are implemented, but more of the callback way of doing things. So yep, CB. So this is an anonymous function. We pass this. Let's say we'll just const result is equals to CB, but we pass our prop. So you'll figure out how you do your prop stuff. Then so you'll pass your function there, return prop. Then we can just log a prop and CB, run. You'll see we have this, we are destructuring this value. So let's just run this and see. So we'll get undefined. Let's prop, run. Then you'll see we have hello world. So I'm not implementing the how hooks should work, but with these we can have like result. Okay, so then we can also destructure result. So what do you get from this? It's a function returning a number of things. So with this this is now where we factor in the issue of destructuring and spread. So when you're doing the destructuring, here we are destructuring an array. Okay, so we are able to pick, we can get our result here. So if we run it, you'll see we have hello world, hello world, hello world, hello world. So this means the callback has processed the result. We are able to get that result. From here we've passed our prop to the CB, the callback, and we are here presenting the prop. Let's say Jan. Then this one will our callback. How will we implement our callback? Callback will just return hello hello not world plus prop. So if we pass this one, if we run it, you can see Jen, hello Jen, hello Jen. So this result will be processed within this hook, and we're able to get our prop and the result. So this is how you can do your destructuring when you're now working with React. So you can find out how the hooks are implemented, but this is just a way to indicate to you how those things work. And yeah, there are things known as factory methods, which functions which call other functions, and with that, that's a very it's something, if I start talking about, it won't be for today, so I didn't plan for that. So then now let's go to destructured props. Destructuring. So with destructuring, what you need to just understand is you'll have these props as your object when you're passing it. Then now from here we can just say const. So you can destructure something such as name and age from props. Then you can just log those values. So you can log age and that. Then we just do call destructuring like that. Then if you run it, you see John 20. This one you should also take a lot of care, because it usually requires that ahead of time you know what you're supposed to be doing. So if you're doing destructuring, what you need to understand, the first one, you can destructure named properties, key value pair from here, and also rename. You can rename using the maybe nm. So I'll only reference this as nm to refer to the alias of this name. Okay, so if I have more properties, then I can just use this other. Okay, so this other will pick anything else that is applied. Okay, so let's say we have like G mail. Okay, this one height 5 point that. So then if we now run this, we'll see we're getting some different output, but you can see things are more or less the same. So the first one is nm, which is John, but this other is destructuring everything else, every other property that is in props, and you're able to access it via the other. So once you destructure like this, these properties will be as this one will be assigned to nm and the rest will be assigned to other. So that's what you need to understand here. Then there's this thing to deal with the spreading. So if you're working with when you'll be using something like use state, so let's say spread. So let's say we have that array, okay, then we have array 2. So how spread works, it will try to find values which are not there and add in there. So let's say we have 3 in there and run. For this one it will just be okay, it will be spreading all elements in that array. But if you have an object, if you are spreading an object on top of an object, then now it will override. So let's see obj1. Let's say we have that obj2. Let's say name will be Mike, just that. Then we say obj3 will be obj1 spread obj2, then we just log obj3. So if you're working with these, you'll see that we'll have name Mike, age will be retained, but John is gone. Why? Because we are passing property that exists in the first object, so that means the last value to be spread will overwrite the first value which was there. So by that you'll get this obj3 to be a value of obj1 overwritten by obj2. Okay, so I think that's just what we need to understand how these things work. And if you understand these fundamentals, React will be very easy. So after this, now I'll also follow up with the React one, which will be explaining more on props, destructuring and handling of different components. I hope you enjoy and learn 1-2 from here. Yeah, it's always back to the basics that will make you understand React better.